You're listening to a Times Higher Education podcast.
I was definitely seeing AI use coming into our reflective portfolios, and rather than banning it, I say, well, look, let's use it. But let's use it in such a way that it's not going to rob you of your learning. You're here for the year, you're going to engage with the reflective writing. Let's do it in a way so it's still time efficient for you, but it's doing the menial stuff. It's not doing the really rich cognitive stuff.
Hello and welcome to Campus Talks, the podcast in which we seek insight and advice to support the work of those in higher education. I'm Eliza Compton, Deputy Editor of Campus. Tonight, the 2025 Times Higher Education Awards are being announced at a ceremony in Edinburgh. And so this episode gives us an opportunity to catch up with one of last year's winners. Jenny Moffett is a Senior Lecturer and Educationalist in the Health Professions Education Centre at RCSI, University of Medicine and Health Sciences in Dublin. She also serves as Program Director for the postgraduate diploma in Health Professions Education. Jenny was named Most Innovative Teacher of 2024 for her work on the Hidden Hospital, an immersive digital escape room that helps students navigate complex and unpredictable situations. And, as you'll hear, her research remains steeped in the digital space. Her current work is looking at broader challenges and opportunities with respect to generative AI in higher education, particularly how it supports and hinders reflective writing. I'm delighted to share this conversation with Jenny. In talking about her work and background, which includes veterinary science and communications, she conveys the range of skills needed when it comes to teaching for professional development, particularly in medicine and the health sciences, and what goes into building communities of inquiry and psychological safety in a digital environment. Her tips for educators form a virtual masterclass for anyone looking to develop their teaching toolkit for the future. So if you are new to university teaching or want tips or reassurance about online teaching and the potential uses of AI, you'll find this conversation as engaging as I did. Hi Jenny, and welcome to the Campus Talks podcast.
Oh, thanks, Eliza. It's a pleasure and an honour to be here.
To start our conversation off, can you tell us a bit about your work as an educationalist and program director at RCSI?
Yeah, so I work in HPEC, that's the Health Professions Education Centre, and we have a couple of different roles within RCSI, and actually I should spell out our full acronym with the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, but it's important to note we do have a campus in Bahrain as well and other international campuses for our postgraduate students. But we do sit really kind of at the centre of teaching and learning within the university community. So our role would be supporting our educators through faculty development, supportive education research. We carry out a lot of workshops and one-to-one consultancies and feed into committees. And then probably my main role within HPEC is Programme Director for our postgraduate diploma in Health Professions Education. And so that was a course that started out as a staff course. We wanted our teachers, our lecturers, anybody on that academic scale to have their PhD, but also have a recognised teaching qualification. But also, I suppose, the work that I carried out that fed into the Times Higher Education Awards last year, that would be my research area of looking at uncertainty and teaching and learning around uncertainty in health professions education. I've kind of wrapped up my escape room work around that. You know, I'm in a really nice position now where I've had, and I think this is part of the Innovation Awards, I've had a lot of interest in the room and we're rolling it out in different international sites. But yeah, so HPEC sits at the centre of that. And what we really want to do is kind of help people within the RCSI community feel empowered, inspired with respect to their teaching and learning.
So it sounds like it really is centering teaching as a professional development and core of the university's activities. You've mentioned a couple of different aspects of your own interests, so uncertainty and the digital spaces. And as you said, last year you were the winner of our Most Innovative Teacher of the Year category at the THE Awards, which is the theme of this podcast episode. So what at the moment is keeping education and teaching alive and fresh for you? What are you most excited about?
I thought you were going to say what's keeping educationists awake at night, but actually my
That's
answer
a good
would be
question too.
my answer would be the same. I think it has to be generative AI. That I've never seen the likes of a technology to come in. I just say it's like a tsunami coming in. You know, we talk about waves coming in. This is something that's absolutely a paradigm shift for education. And I would say there's huge opportunities and challenges with Gen AI. So I think that's one of the places where my research efforts are going to next. So at the moment, I'm working with a team, RCSI, and we've a collaborator from Lucerne in Switzerland, and we're just carrying out a scoping review at the moment looking at that exact thing. So the challenges and opportunities with respect to generative AI in higher education. So we're going a little bit broader than the health professions education field for that. And it's really, really interesting to see how different educators are using AI. Now, specifically, we're actually going to look at reflection and reflective writing, because that's something that we do a lot of in health professions education. And I think one of the, you know, if we just look at it, you know, a challenge and an opportunity, when we look at reflection and that ability to take a problem or a dilemma, have a go at, you know, working with it, and then stopping, thinking about it, reflecting, asking others, reading up about it, and then going back into a similar situation or problem again, you know, that cycle of experiential learning. There are ways that AI can actually support and hinder that. So supporting, like some of the papers that we're seeing at the moment, AI can really help learners to engage with reflection. I mean, sometimes, you know, when I say the word reflection, it can be a bit of a loaded term. I know a lot of health professions are like, oh, reflection. You know, it can come with this baggage, and people can feel a bit put off by it. They feel disinclined or disinmotivated to engage with it. And actually, we're seeing that AI can help personalize stories, can help make reflective prompts really individualized for a learner, which will keep them on task. But similarly with reflection, if we have learners that are using AI to create the reflection without fully cognitively engaging with it, there is the chance that the AI can kind of take over, and there's that risk of de-skilling. And if you take the sense that, you know, for written reflections, if we equate the act of writing with cognitive processing, if our learners are using AI to do that reflective writing, is there the chance that it's stripping out all of those cognitive benefits? So that's where we're at the moment. So I think AI is, you know, everybody's talking about it, inside RCSI, outside RCSI, the lecturers, the students, lots of different facets to consider. And I think really, I mean, all of this, AI has been coming for several years, but I think with tools like ChatGPT coming online, everybody now is having a go at it and using it in different ways and learning different things. And it's this like a giant field experiment. So it's very exciting. But I do think educationalists and those working in higher education, we do have a responsibility with respect to looking at how this work should be boundaried and looking at ethics and integrity, and how we can use these tools in such a way that we're not de-skilling or interrupting the development of critical thinking skills in our learners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in so many conversations that we've had on campus talks, AI is a magnet. The conversation gets pulled in that direction
Always.
every time. And a lot of the skepticism or concerns around is often around assessment and academic integrity. But it seems to me like you're digging into the potential for teaching, which is a slightly different way of
Yeah.
looking at using these tools.
Yeah, and I think that is, I think it's a human nature for us to go to the negative and to the fear and to the change, you know, the fear of change. So that's very, very human. I'm also aware that, you know, with the way, you know, the political world is, sociocultural landscapes, AI is not going to go away. So we do need to learn how to work with it. And rather than, you'll hear people say, can we not just block it? Can we not just say ban it? Can we not just make sure that the students don't have access to the tools? That is not the reality of the world we're preparing them for. And with health professions, students in particular, already medicine is taking up AI, they're using AI in the medical field. So we need to be giving our students the AI literacy tools as well. And we can't do that if we're not engaging with it ourselves. So I think, on the diploma, for example, we've had to rapidly update our curriculum to say, oh, okay, so we're not only are we bringing in changes to make sure you guys use AI in a way that is productive and supportive of your learning, but also we're going to teach you how to use AI as well, because, you might have, for us, we have a lot of clinicians, we have doctors and nurses that are out working in clinical settings, and they'll say, well, Jenny, do we really need to know about this? We do. And, even if that's not very clear this year, next year, the year after, it'll be very, very obvious, because the learners, our undergraduate learners, they're taking it and they're running with it, and we need to understand how it's being used and what skills will they really need when they step into that real world.
Well, as you say, it's not going away, and the pace of change has been so rapid that by the time these undergraduates are hitting the workforce, they are going to be definitely on a back foot if they don't have a familiarity with the front edge, as you say, talking about using it in medicine. If there's a front edge of using AI, I would imagine it is absolutely the health sciences.
Yeah.
You have been interested in the digital space for quite a while, I think. Goes back before COVID. So you've seen changes through online education, and then you got into immersive technology, and now obviously thinking very deeply about the use of AI. What got you interested in the digital space and its potential for education in the first place?
That's a really good question. That's something I haven't really thought about. I suppose where it really started was, personal reasons, in that I was working in academia for several years. I have worked for veterinary universities in the Caribbean and the UK. And then I just got to a certain point for my family that we were really keen to move back to Ireland, which you can tell by the accent, where we're from. And it was the first time in my life I'd ever gone and said, I just want to live there and I'll find the job after. So always, you go for the job and you move for the job. But we had young kids and we were ready to move back to Ireland. And so really living in rural Ireland, there's not a huge opportunities for an academic. So at that time, I set up my own training firm. So my academic background is clinical communication skills, and I realised that there wasn't a lot of postgraduate opportunities for vets and veterinary nurses, technicians that wanted to improve their communication skills. And I actually think when you get into continuing professional development and lifelong learning, it's almost a different conversation. In university, it's very much about, you're going to meet a client, you're going to, the client will have an animal with them, and here's the skills that you will need for patient care. But I think when you get into the CPD space, it's more about, if you have somebody who is doing their job, engaging with their career, but feeling that something's missing, or that the client work is getting difficult. I think one thing that's happened in veterinary medicine, for example, we're seeing huge rises in incivility and difficult client interactions, and that's been accelerated by the pandemic. But even predating COVID, there was a space there for training, and not just communication skills, career coaching, mentorship, helping people make sense of the postgraduate landscape. So I set up my own training firm, and that really lent itself to online. So at that stage, I dug in heavily to Zoom, and I know we're meeting on Zoom today, so I always said I was a bit of a Zoom fangirl. From that perspective of training and coaching, the online space is a really nice place to meet people where they're at. They can join from home. They can find a quiet space. They can have a private conversation. They don't need to travel. So I think that was the biggest things for vets, huge time barriers, geographical distance. So if you do want to connect with somebody, the feasibility of meeting online really, really helped with that. I had an online virtual learning environment as well for my training courses and things. So I was set up to train across a geographical span. So when COVID happened, I did feel, we were obviously, everybody pivoted online, went on to online teaching and learning, and I was like, oh, phew, at least I know a little bit about this. But what's been lovely in the years that have followed from there, I've seen that online teaching and learning has got much more sophisticated. There's evidence, there's been, research that we can base our new developments on, our new innovations. So I think that it's just a really interesting space. And also, I feel the online space can be really engaging and useful for students with differences as well. And, I would work a lot with students with neurodiversities. There's neurodiversity in our family. And I can see that the online space can really help create that individualized teaching and allow neurodiverse students to engage in ways that they might not be able to do in a giant lecture hall.
Do you ever worry about the remote nature of digital learning environments?
Yes, that's a great question as well. So the geographical distance, by its very nature, will put in this sense of it. We talk about transactional distance, so that the transactional distance between the learner and the teacher is increased. So absolutely, that will cause a barrier. In similar ways, you've got blocks with respect to non-verbals. If you're in a room and you're teaching and your students are there, you can see who's engaged and eye contact and who's got their head on the desk. You get that instantaneous feedback. So from the teacher's perspective, if you're looking at a sea of faces and there's a bit of a delay, there's definitely a barrier there. Now, having said that, I do think that there are frameworks and pedagogies that you can use to ensure that engagement is there. And I think that's one of the things we do well. I hope that we do well on our diploma, is that we make full use of synchronous and asynchronous teaching. We put people into small groups, we get them working together on projects, we give them a tutor, a group tutor who will support them in connecting with each other. We do lots of activities with lots of visuals and imagery, and encourage people to introduce themselves and have different types of icebreakers, things like that. So with effort and with following kind of pedagogical advice and support, you can create, I think you can create a really nice network. And so what we have now is we have teams of students working together from across Ireland, the UK, the Middle East, China, Malaysia. So they are working together with each other. All group projects online have their challenges, but that richness of diversity, different countries, different backgrounds, they learn so much from each other. I always go on about community of inquiry as a pedagogical framework. I love it. People say, oh, you're not on about that again. But it's really, it's just a really simple way to design your teaching. So you think about your teaching presence rather than teacher presence. You think about your social presence and your cognitive presence. The social presence is how are you getting those learners to engage with you, to engage with each other. And I do work a lot on psychological safety. I will try to use as much empathy and compassion and listening and using terms, trying to flatten that hierarchy. And I suppose I can do that because my group will be generally, they're qualified professionals. They are already doing their teaching. So, the distance is already narrowed. But I will say to them, look, I always learn from you guys every year. I pick up something new. And when the technology breaks on me, I'm like, as you can see, even Jenny gets it wrong sometimes, even things, I'm on to plan C or D now, so I think psychological safety is really important. And then building activities that are relevant to them, that are interesting, that are bite-sized. We do have kind of long form writing with a reflective portfolio, but in general we want to ease them in and give them things that are very actionable and are linked to their current work. And then finally, with teaching presence as well, is just understanding that they're in a distance course, you need to be available and approachable. So whilst I'm sitting in Ireland and they're, my group are coming in from all over the world, my email, I would be very responsive on the email. We have question boards, we have, like I say, our tutor system as well. A learner can get in touch and they will be heard, validated, and then signposted to what they need. So I think it's hard work. but you can create that community in a virtual space even more effectively than face to face sometimes, I think.
Mm. In terms of faculty development, the kind of training that you're talking about, have you seen openness or willingness to engage with technologies change over time?
Over the years or over the course of a
Well,
course program?
I guess both really would feed into each other. I imagine that a lot of students coming through your program have themselves done a lot more online learning now as
Yeah.
time goes on. So there's a familiarity there that's changed. But in terms of passing on your enthusiasm for the potential of the digital space, is there a matching uptake, or are you met with skepticism? What's the what
All
sort of
of the
feedback do you
above.
get?
All of the above. And I think I in some ways I'm pushing against an open door because of the rate of change of technology. So I'll give an example. I remember in one of our diploma courses that we ran pre-COVID, we did a technology enhanced learning session, and it was demonstrating. We took a couple of different things like Padlet and Mentimeter and Zoom, and we did a little kind of practical session around it. And then I did a vote at the end, what would you use and would you use it? And I remember somebody saying about Zoom, well, it's nice, but I just can't see any use for it. And then roll on pandemic and everybody's on Zoom. I'm teaching my elderly parents how to use Zoom through their, window. Everybody's using Zoom. But also, like I think with AI, for example, again, there would be some cynicism about it. And most people coming onto the course, if they've heard, some people are definitely experimenting with it, but most people are lamenting that their students are using it and pulling their hair out. How do I stop them from using it? And I say, well, look, let's pause that thought and let's all use it together first, and then we'll see. And so my group this year, because I was definitely seeing AI use coming into our reflector portfolios, and rather than banning it, I say, well, look, let's use it. But let's use it in such a way that it's not going to rob you of your learning. You're here for the year. You're going to engage with the reflective writing. Let's do it in a way that it means that it's still time efficient for you, but it's doing the menial stuff. It's not doing the really rich cognitive stuff. So let's look at that together. And so I think in that discussion that we had, definitely had people saying, oh, I don't really think I like this. I'm not sure it's for me. And, 2 weeks in, I think pretty much everybody's using it now, but they're using it in a way, a way that we like to see them use it. We have a lot of learners that are coming back. They've maybe been out of formal education for several years. They've been working away in the clinical setting. So there's a bit of terror there about engaging with technology. And I think what helps for us is that we structure the course. It's modularized, and really the rhythm of the course is identical. Modules 1, 2, 3, and 4, they stay the same, just the content changes. So our participants will come in, they understand what's asked of them each week, they understand what's asked of them at the end of the module. And the first module, there is a lot of contact there, there is a lot of support, and even down to some one-to-one support on their setup and their technology and their hardware, which is, it is time consuming. But by the time we move into modules 2, 3, and 4, that's all been settled down and people are feeling that confidence. And an example, so what we did this week was we did our micro teaching, and we had like 100 learners in 20 separate groups teaching their peers, teaching a small group of their colleagues, a 10-minute segment of teaching, and using the technology and grappling with all of the, the issues that go with that. But they'll repeat that again in module 2, and I think their confidence levels second time round will be, hopefully super boosted for that.
Does your research in uncertainty feed into this? I share some skepticism and uncertainty about the role of technology in all our lives. How does that work feed into your teaching development, faculty development?
So uncertainty it's everywhere, Eliza. It's in all elements of society, really, never mind teaching and learning. And I have to say, I think the funniest thing, we had a lovely Fulbright scholar joined us this year, Dr. Amy Gardner from USA, and we were having a coffee because she has an interest in uncertainty in medicine as well. And I said, well, I have to say, the reason I've studied uncertainty is because previously so bad at managing uncertainty. And she laughed and said, well, research is me search, Jenny. So I just thought that was such a good phrase. So with uncertainty, I think with uncertainty, it's very much having a strategy for dealing with change, unpredictability, complexity, ambiguity, all of these things. And, this is what we deal with on a daily basis. And I feel like if we bring it just down to teaching and learning, we're helping. So with our faculty development, we're helping our teachers to engage with their students in their local environment, in the context of the setting. And there's huge complexity there. So with that is the uncertainty. And there's also that, I think it's Stephen Brookfield, the quote that teaching is like whitewater rafting. You can go in with your lesson plan, you can go in with your learning outcomes, but until you rock up and go into that room, you don't know who's in there with you, you don't know what their day's been like. They might have a giant anatomy exam tomorrow and they're just looking at you, I don't want to be here. So you have to adapt and be flexible. So I think that's probably the key thing, is flexibility, to go in prepared, but to know that the situation in front of you is likely to change. And I think a lot of educationalists will think back to that idea of students' reflection in action. So you've done your training, you've read you've got your pedagogies, you've got your strategies that you use in your teaching. But what happens in the moment will mean that you'll need to kind of think about, will I choose path A here or choose path B? Will I mix it up? And I think for teachers that are starting out or who are working with new students for the first time, it's tough. There's a learning curve to it. But once you've a few years under your belts, or you've worked with, this cohort of students a couple of different times, and you can kind of preempt, you can foresee really where they might be in their energy levels or their experience levels, it just becomes a little bit easier to be more fluent and flexible. And I think a lot of when a new teacher is starting out is just having that confidence, having a support network, having that, more knowledgeable other. That's like Vygotsky's idea that, having somebody who's just a little bit further on from yourself, they can really support you and help you work in an area that, it might be a bit challenging, might be a bit terrifying at first, but it's sitting with it. And it is uncertainty at its core, is choosing, is there a strategy that will work here? Or if there's no strategy that's going to work here to manage the uncertainty, how do I sit with this? How do I sit with that discomfort? And I think that's something overall as a society we've become really bad at. People don't want to be bored anymore. They can't sit with boredom. My kids can't sit with boredom. You can see the panic in their face, and there's this urge to go to a screen and do something to relieve the boredom. And I just think boredom is such a useful place to be, because when you're feeling bored, that's where the good ideas come up. That your rich inner landscape starts to kick into flow. And actually, you look at a lot of the science around creativity and ideation. Boredom is a prerequisite in many cases for coming up with really great ideas. So I think being able to sit with uncomfortable experiences is really a skill that we should be trying to engender in our learners as well.
That seems like a difficult skill to teach, being comfortable with boredom. But we've had articles on campus which have looked at the importance of just having space to mull things over. Just as a final question, because our time together is coming to an end, what are the most important skills for university educators in 2025, but also maybe going forward, sort of looking forward for the next sort of few years, given that we are living amid this very, very rapid change?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, obviously my brain jumps to AI as the kind of the latest add-on, but I suppose really just bringing it back to basics. And you'll see a lot of really good quality certifications in teaching and learning. I did my own when I was in University of Surrey, and it really got me prepared and provided an excellent foundation. So really just having those frameworks, understanding the theories of learning. People will look at theories of learning and think, oh, so dry, it's so like, how do we breathe life into this? But honestly, if you look at how people learn, and if you look at how individuals have different kind of learning needs and preferences. At the bottom of all of that, there's huge value to be gained in engaging with those theories of learning. And I think motivational theories of learning are particularly important because they are what will really, I think, support our learners in this age of lots of distractions and lots of engagement. Our learners are very technologically savvy. They engage in social media, online activities, video gaming, that attention economy. It's very, very attractive to them. So I think with teaching and learning, we need to actually get better at providing learning environments that give that same sense of the learner having something that they want and need to know. And then really just different strategies and settings. For us, for example, we've moved away from, we used to do like a session on lecturing and a session on small group teaching, and now we roll that in together and we talk about active learning. You know, how do we support active learning, student-centered learning, and trying to make the complex quite simple so that whatever learning environment you're dropped into, there are some standard skills and tools as a teacher you can use. And then really, I think also what's important is supporting our teachers to find within the work that they do the area that really brings them passion as well. And if we're left to default as a teacher or a lecturer, you will say, right, well, what's my curriculum? What's my teaching schedule? I have my professional development meeting. This is what my line manager wants. This is what the promotion framework wants. But really, if we are to fully understand why did we go into teaching? What was it that we wanted to do? What brings us joy? How can I do more of that within my day? And and do all of the other things that is being asked of us, but really listen out for that spark of what gives us the enjoyment. I think that that's what will really help us remain enthusiastic and passionate about our work, because once you're enthusiastic and passionate about your work, your learners know that and they see that, and I think it's overall the experience for everybody is improved. So my main advice there is, yes, there's all of the day stuff that we need to do, but don't forget why you've gone into teaching. And if you can find a way to drill into that passion some way, whether it's through research or a particular teaching project or a particular cohort of learners that you like working with, try to get more of that into your weekly schedule.
Well, thank you so much for that insight, Jenny. And thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been really terrific talking to you.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you to Jenny for sharing her insights into the foundations of teaching on which all innovation, whether it's in the area of artificial intelligence or learning to deal with uncertainty, is built. To mark this year's Times Higher Education Awards, we at Campus have put together a collection of articles in which shortlisted academics, professionals and teams share advice across topics such as teaching, research supervision, civic engagement, excellence for technicians and libraries, and international collaboration. You'll find it at timeshighereducation.com/campus/keywords/spotlight-guides. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, like and subscribe, and we'll be back with a new episode in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to a Times Higher Education podcast.